we're happy that you have joined us today. These luncheons serve as a friendly way for students, faculty, and staff, and community members to learn more about special things that happen at Blackburn College. We hear programs presented by faculty, staff, and students on a variety of topics. If you know something that would make an interesting luncheon topic, you can get a hold of me, Kyle Harrington, or Pete Oswald, and just let us know. Today's program is presented by two Blackburn students, seniors Miranda Clark and Paul Kline. Both of them spent time in the spring term of last school year studying in Wales and will share their experiences with us today. Please welcome Miranda and Paul.
Thanks for coming. So the way we decided to do this, I'm going to go first and talk a little bit about my experience, and then Miranda will follow. So, like she said, I'm Paul Kline, Miranda Clark. We studied abroad last spring semester in Wales. So I'm going to show you some pictures, just a little outline of what I'm going to talk about, my travels, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about how the university works over there, more on the academic side. And then some language differences that of course come up, and the drinking culture, which is quite different. And a couple of other things, but these are the big four things I'm going to talk about. So first of all, let's get our terminology straight, and they will be offended if you get this wrong, if you ever go over there. Pretty simple, as you can see. You take the countries of Scotland, Wales, and England, put those together, that's Great Britain. If you throw in Northern Ireland, that's the UK. You throw in the Isle of Man, Jersey, and Guernsey, that's how you say that one. Then that's the British Islands, which is different than the British Isles, which is the inclusion of Ireland, the state, which is all of the British Isles. Confusing, yes, but you get the hang of it once you're there for a while. So, Swansea, Wales is right there. Don't mind all the rest of the stars, that was from my travel planning, saving places in Google Maps. So that's where we are there. All right, so here's my pictures. There's, of course, Big Ben. If you get one of those. This is Llandilo Castle. There's castles everywhere. There's one in Swansea, right in the city center. And this was just like the closest town to the north. So pretty much any town has a castle, at least one. It was a pretty cool castle. This is Pompeii. Over spring break, I went to Italy. This is the Guinness estate. So this is where the Guinness family lives in Ireland. You can't see their mansion. Their mansion is right here. But I thought this part was prettier. They own that whole valley. This is, you can always guess. It's more fun if you guess. Loch Ness, yes, this is Loch Ness. And on the boat, we had a boat tour out there that they have sonar where you can hopefully see Nessie.
You're kidding, they actually have sonar on
yes,
the boat?
they have sonar on the boat with a little TV screen where you can see the seafloor being mapped. So. Anybody know what this is? I heard it back there. Zorball, yes. If you haven't heard of zorbing, it is very simple. You get in a ball and someone pushes you down a hill. It's very fun, and ever since I first heard about zorbing, I really wanted to do it. So I found a place in Scotland that was pretty cheap. This is in Dumfries, where you get strapped in with Velcro and then they just push you down a hill.
Looks like a pretty back yourself.
It was pretty smooth. They had a
Was
nice
that
bath.
after you were at Guinness or before?
Yeah, it was after. While we were there, we also went down the, I was traveling with a friend, Christine, down the longest zip line in Scotland. It was also there. It used to be the longest in the world, but you know how that goes. Somebody has to win. You can see, if you look closely, there's the finish right down there. That's the platform, way down there. So it was actually really cold up here. We went up a mountain side and then went down. And this is a beautiful place. This is in southern Scotland, right on the coast. And that guy right there, I was talking to him, he's actually been vacationing at this spot for like 30 years. So I think we picked the right spot to zip line anyway. That was a lot of fun. There's me feeding a reindeer. They were very friendly. They're very used to people feeding them, I think. Here is the Colosseum in Rome, no longer in use. That was pretty cool to see. This is Edinburgh Castle, also no longer in use. This was huge. That was also really cool. They had a huge cannon in there. It was, like, seriously, it shoots cannonballs this big. And I got to see the Pope. The people I was traveling with were Catholics, so they got tickets to Thursday night's Mass. And this was his very first week of papacy. Is that the word I'm looking for? So that was pretty cool. Although the entire service was in Italian and Latin, so it was about 2 hours of no idea what's going on. I had never heard of this. Anybody know what this is?
Nuclear missile.
No. I kind of found it by chance when we were exploring Dublin. So it's in Dublin, Ireland. And this is the spire that they built. I don't remember when they built it, but it was recent. And it's literally just a spire, and it's very tall. And that's it. There's no story to it. They just built it. But I thought it was pretty cool. The Guinness Book of World Records. So this is the museum at the Guinness factory in Ireland. And you can't really read this really well, but Sir Hug was his name. Sir Hug Beaver, then managing director of the Guinness, missed a bird while out shooting. Right, so we went back to the pub afterwards, and that got them talking about, well, what is the fastest bird that there is? So to settle such bar disputes like this, he started the Guinness Book of World Records. And ever since then, it's really taken off. So it was originally to settle bar disputes. So I thought that was interesting enough to snap a picture. Here is some monastic ruins in southeastern Ireland. This was part of the InterVarsity Christian Fellowship retreat that I went on. And this tower back here was what the monks would hide in if Vikings came. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. They could go up there and hide, but it's also a, here we are, here's the tower. It didn't really make sense, but yeah, that's the tourists, that's where they would hide. And they would pull up a ladder from that door. It's pretty high up. Oh, they were also filming a children's show while we were there. I know because I asked them about it. And some Scottish children's show like that would be on our PBS. They were filming at the time. I did not get in the background. It would have been obvious. So this is a picture from the coldest night of my life. This is at the Irish Heritage Museum. So apparently at this museum they allow groups to sort of live in one of the exhibits for the night. So they have, at the Irish Heritage Museum, they have life-size exhibits of how people lived who settled Ireland throughout the ages. So this was the Stone Age. And we were hoping for a little bit nicer weather, but it was extremely cold. And we spent one night in there, which was cool, but very, very cool. Anybody? Easy one. Venice, yes. Not the best of weather, but that was a lot of fun. Very easy to get lost. Everything you read about getting lost in Venice is true. More than half the roads just end without a bridge into water, so watch your step. Eagle and Child. Anybody know why this place is amazing? So this is the pub where J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis would meet for their writing group at Oxford called the Inklings. So they would meet and talk about such works of literature as Lord of the Rings and Chronicles of Narnia. So this is in Oxford. A friend of mine that I made while I was there, I visited him over spring break, and he showed me all these amazing places at Oxford, which was really cool. This is in C.S. Lewis's Nature Preserve, and this is supposedly the bench that he sat on when he first imagined Narnia. Whether or not that's true, he did sit there, which is really cool because I sat there. A cheese museum in Amsterdam, of all places. This is where I got marked that cheese. But I thought that was pretty interesting. They had lots of free samples. Roselli Beach. Now this was voted by TripAdvisor in 2013 as the 10th prettiest beach in the world. It's about 45 minutes from Swansea. You can get there with your bus pass. And we didn't go there on the prettiest of days, but it is really pretty. So I wanted to show you a picture from the internet of a sunny day, because they do exist. And the picture is going to be from the other side of that house right there, looking towards the cliff that I'm standing on. So that's what it should look like. Yeah, it's really, let's see. And if you're a Mumford & Sons fan. The music video Lover of the Light was filmed through here and also inside that house, so it's pretty cool. Very beautiful place. You can also walk out to, they call that Worm's Head, and I made it all the way out to there before I had to turn back or be stranded by the tide for another 6 hours or so. Because this part right here fills over with water. But it was a very beautiful place. Cardiff Castle, one of the biggest castles in Wales. Here's a shot of the inside of it. There's the keep. There's your last resort. Really beautiful castle. It was also used as a World War II bombing shelter inside the walls. That was interesting. So if you go through those, there's a lot of World War II memorabilia. Anybody? This is Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. Also, I guess, is a universal thing, because when everyone got too loud, over the loudspeakers it goes. It sounds exactly like a gas leak if you've never heard it before, until you realize that it's just shushing you, an automated shushing. So I thought that was very interesting. And then we went to the Louvre. This is Venus, one of the most famous statues, and there's the Mona Lisa. It was really hard to get a picture. They didn't have lots of other people in it. It was really crowded, but I finally got one.
Could you get pictures were allowed in that?
For some things, yes. For other things, they will escort you out if they catch you taking pictures, which I saw happen a couple times. There was lots of really cool things I saw, like for instance, the Sistine Chapel. I'll talk about that here in a minute, but they don't allow pictures in there. They're very strict about that. Also, the Anne Frank house. We went there when we were in Amsterdam, and they don't allow pictures of anywhere in there. So I have no evidence that I ever went there, but I did. I'm proud of this picture. I took that. Yeah. So once it gets dark, every hour on the hour, for 5 minutes, the tower sparkles and they do the little searchlight thing at the top. So that was pretty cool. We went up to the second level, and there's Wi-Fi up there. They're not Moulin Rouge. Never seen the movie. I heard it was good, so we stopped by and took pictures. The wall that supposedly says "I love you" in every single language. I say supposedly because they say it does, but I mean there's like so many languages. I don't know if they're sure. So anybody see the English? This actually took me a while to re-find. I'll give you a hint. It's inside the rectangle. But yeah, right over there. Pretty cool idea. This is Avebury Henge, or Avebury, depending on who you ask how to pronounce it. Now this henge put Stonehenge to shame. This thing is huge. And these rocks are huge. And technically speaking, Stonehenge is not a henge. You knew that by archaeological definitions. Simply put, because they put the dirt on the wrong side of the hole. If they had dug the other direction, it would be a henge. But the way archaeologists classify henges, Stonehenge is not a henge. These rocks are huge, as you can see, and half that rock is underground so that they don't fall over. And there's a person for reference. And then, of course, there is Stonehenge, which is one of the places I really wanted to go to. But yeah, it is just a bunch of rocks. But it was cool to go to for sure. It was also lambing season in the spring, which is cool. So there's lambs, there's sheep everywhere, so you see lambs everywhere during the spring. This was for the Sistine Chapel, not allowed to take pictures. And also for the Anne Frank house. And like the crown jewels in Scotland, weren't allowed to take pictures of those either, but I saw those. This was a nice fellow on the bus who had a corgi with him, so I asked him if I could pet it and take pictures with it. And yeah, it's really cute. Apparently it's a purebred corgi, which are rare. A sink. Okay? Every single sink over in Wales and in the UK doesn't have one faucet, it's always two. And one is really hot and one is really cold. So washing your hands is just going back and forth all the time, no matter where you are. Okay, so my pictures are over. I'm going to talk a little bit more about how university worked, more on the academic side, like I said. So university, or uni, as they call it, they only go for 3 years instead of 4, which is a big difference in my opinion. Also, a huge difference is how they calculate their GPA. For instance, their entire first year of college, university, does not count towards their GPA. All they have to do is get over a 40% in all of their classes to make it to year 2, and then stuff starts counting. In my opinion, this links over strongly to the drinking culture, and you'll see why. Also, all you need is a 70%. That's the highest you can get, right? Like here, 90 to 100 is the highest you can get. That's an A. But over there, in all of UK, it's 70 to 100. That's the first one. So that's called the first mark. And then you get a first, second, and then it's a second, second, and then it's a third. So they don't use A, B, C, D. They use this very easy to remember. Oh, third. Yeah, so a passing grade is a 40%, which you would think, you know, if the grading scale's sort of more lax, that you would think the grading was more strict. I didn't really find that to be the case, at least not in my classes.
Is the material more challenging?
I did not think so. I think comparing it to Blackburn, like, you get a great education here, in my opinion. For instance, I had 2 homework assignments at most in each of my classes. Some classes had 1 or no homework for the entire semester. So that's how you kind of have the time to do such traveling or drinking, as most freshers do. Also, you know, we have finals exam week here, and they have an entire month of no classes where you're just taking your final exam. Now, that's really nice, but the catch to that is it is not uncommon at all for 80 to 100% of your grade to be based on your final exam. So it's really nice to have 2 or 3 days dedicated to one test when your entire grade is depending on that test. So those are some academic differences. All right, now I'm going to talk about language. The language in Wales is, of course, Welsh. However, only 19% of the population can speak Welsh, and only 15% can do so fluently. So nobody between the ages of, say, 16 and 40 spoke Welsh, in my opinion. It was either all older people or people currently in school being taught
Isn't
Welsh.
there a push though to?
Absolutely, yes. Every single publication, anything out by the government is in Welsh first and then English. You'll see a picture of that here in a second, but yeah, everything is always in Welsh or English, but nobody understands Welsh. 81% of the population doesn't know Welsh. But there's definitely a big push to bring it back. So my theory as to why Welsh perhaps isn't that popular, let's look at a word here. In English terms, this only has sometimes a vowel, and you pronounce this us Betty, right? What's weird about it, it has 3 Y's, and each time the Y makes a different sound. Right? It's us Betty, and this is the Welsh word for hospital. And this is a typical Welsh word in the sense that there's very few to no vowels, and it's sort of a harsh pronunciation, I guess. Here's how you say quiet please in English versus quiet please in Welsh. If you count it up, it's over twice as many letters in words. So just an example of how Welsh is just the language in general. And that double D there is actually a letter on its own. Like we have a double U. They have a number of like double L, which is not 2 L's but 1 letter. Right? So it's confusing, but that's Welsh. All right, a little vocab test. These are British English words. Okay, so they're words that we perhaps understand but mean something else entirely over there. So we'll see how you guys do. Wellies. Boots. Rain boots. Okay, good. Starting out easy. Rain boots. Hob. Stove. Stove, yes. It's a stove. Hob is a stove. They don't say stove, they will say hob. Turn the hob off, it'll become a hob. It is a stove. You guys can't answer if you know. Carriage. Kind of an easy one. Yeah, the people part of a car. So you would say you left your luggage in the carriage. It's where you would go in. Pants. Can't answer. This one I never actually got used to because pants means underwear. It does not mean pants. If you mean pants, you say trousers. So every time I said pants, so I never did get used to that one. Pudding.
Dessert.
Dessert, yes, it is any dessert. In my experience, it was never actually pudding. Antisocial. I thought this one was probably the most interesting one. Right? Because here it means, like, oh, I'm just not going to go to the party. I'm going to sit in my room and not talk to people. Right? But you can actually be arrested for antisocial behavior because of their definition of antisocial. Pretty much it means gang-like activity. So I found this out when I was reading an article at my internship about some teens that were arrested for antisocial behavior. Right, that's what they listed in the article. So They were skateboarding and doing suspicious activity that was antisocial. So, quite literally anti-society, I guess you could translate it. So, diary. Is an appointment book or scheduler of some kind, which I always giggle to myself because you would hear grown men say, "I'll have to write that in my diary." That's what it means over here, but all they meant is they were making an appointment with you. Cot.
Bed.
No.
That's what it means here. That's what I thought it meant.
Bandage.
Sorry?
Bandage?
No. Good guess though. So I'll tell you the story of, I'll tell you the story of how a friend of mine found out what cot meant, and then how I found out what it meant. So I was actually telling her how I found it out, and she shared her story with me. So she was staying at a hotel with some friends abroad, and they had more friends than beds, so they asked the front desk if they could send a cot up. And when they got back to their room, it was a baby crib. And somehow they made it work. The way I found out what cot meant was that very friend was staying with me. She was visiting Swansea, and I knew that he had a cot, so I went down and I asked him if I could borrow his cot. And of course he laughed at me because really I asked him if I could borrow his baby crib, which he does not have. Are you okay? This one's threw me for a loop too, right? Because "are you okay" here typically means something like, you were just in a car crash. Are you okay? Maybe you have a broken arm. Are you okay? But there, "are you okay" is the same thing as just "how are you?" Just the general question like that. So the very first time someone asked me if I was okay, I was like, "Is there blood all over my face?" "Yeah, I'm fine. Why?" It's like, "No, it's just a greeting." I was like, "Oh, okay." Good weather. Yeah, I'm making a jest at him. It's just anything more than 5 minutes of sunshine. Good weather over there. It's not uncommon at all for it to rain for more than 24 hours straight. But it never stormed. Not once did I see a thunderstorm in the 5.5 months that I was over there. It also was home to the gentlest hail I've ever been through, because it would just be raining and then you would start being able to hear the rain and then see it bounce. And it would just be hailing along with rain. So it was very strange for me to see hail and not hear thunder and lightning. You see lightning, I guess. Right? This means rock on here, right? But when I visited Italy, I wanted to make sure I didn't do anything stupid. So actually, it turns out this is very offensive in Italian. Strangely specific, but very offensive to any Italian. So I did not attend any concerts. Now this one, I'm actually still upset that they didn't tell us about. So here, of course, this symbol means something like peace or victory, or perhaps innocently enough, for example, the number 2. However, in the UK, it is quite offensive. It is very taboo. And I found this out because I was in a crowded, loud place, and a friend of mine asked me when my flight home was, and in case he couldn't hear me, I said, June 2nd. He laughed at me and told me to never do that again. All right, drinking culture. Quite different. From the age of 18, you can drink in public by yourself, so everyone in university can drink. From the age of 16, you can drink in public with your parents. From the age of 5, you can drink in your own home with your parents. And from the age of 0, you can drink under medical supervision. Why? But it's in the law book. Also, to give you an idea, there was a pub and a nightclub, both owned by the university on the university campus. So just to give you an idea. And also, Freshers Week, which is like our orientation week, every single event on their calendar was at either a bar or a nightclub. So, very different. Okay, so you know how we have Jehovah's Witnesses who kind of stereotypically go around, knock on your doors, and would like to talk to you for a little bit and give you pamphlets? So, I kid you not, they have what I call party witnesses, where they will go around door to door and talk to you about a party or a promotion that's going on and give you a bunch of pamphlets. I'll give you an example. One day I was in our flat alone. I was the only one there in the kitchen, and our door was unlocked. And they just came in to our kitchen and started talking to me about some party that was happening next Wednesday or Saturday, I don't know. And left a bunch of pamphlets and papers and drink deals. And I said, okay, I'll tell my housemates, thank you. And then they left. And if you're not home or your door is locked, they just shove a whole bunch of them through your door, and you'll come home and there's 30 or 40 of the same pamphlet. So yeah, I thought that was a humorous difference. See, the Christian Union. So Miranda and I were part of the Christian Union while we were over there, and every Monday night after our meetings, a bunch of the guys would go to JC's, the pub on campus, and just get a pint. It's just because it is so different. It's so mainstream, I guess, over there. And we were telling them if there were a Christian organization that did something like that in the States, it'd be the talk of the town. So very interesting differences there. Just a couple strange things. I kind of threw this in at the last minute, but I thought I'd share. They have very tiny roads that they call two-lane. But for instance, on that bus ride to Rosselli Beach, twice we had to back up and let a car pass until it was wide enough for 2 cars to be on this 2-lane road. And this is a bus lane, or this is a bus route. So this is as wide as it gets. Also, a TV license. So you have to buy a license to watch TV over there. It converts to about $230 a year if you want to watch color television, but it's less than half that. It's like £45, which is like $80 if you only have a black and white TV. So when I looked stuff up about this, because I thought it was very different, and well, they actually take it very seriously too. We got a number of very threatening letters from, I don't know what government organization is in charge of this, telling us that if we did not submit forms that said we don't have a TV, we were being investigated, that the process was already going, that we would pay these huge fines. They're very serious about it. And apparently they have these vans that can go around and detect whether or not you're receiving a TV signal and whether or not you have the license to do so. So I guess this is all their version of our phone-a-thons. PBS does that every year, so they just make it mandatory for everybody to help fund their BBC. Some 3 great things. These are things that I think we should adopt as America in general. Department deadline scheduling. I loved this. So what this is at the beginning of each semester, for instance, in the computer science department, all the professors would get together and schedule deadlines for their class so that students never had 2 things due at the same time. So I really like that. Not that there were that many assignments, but still, it's a very nice idea. The tax is included in everything. If it says it's £1, you pay £1. They hate change. I really like that. Speaking of money, I really like that they have different size money. So here, the $1 bill is the same size as the $5 bill, as the $10 bill. But if you're blind, that can be really difficult. So their bills, at least in euros, I can't remember for pounds now, but for euros, the different denominations of money are different sizes. So you won't be gypped if you're a blind teller or something. So I thought that was also a really good idea. There's a group of us study abroaders. We have people here from Texas, A&M, some people from U of I, and there's Miranda and I in the photo as well. We'd have dinner from time to time and just talk about our travels and make plans and things. Oh, if you want any more of this, I blogged the whole time I was there, and there's the website, PaulKlineInWales.blogspot.com, if you want even more. And we'll take questions at the end, both of us, if there's time, or if you guys have to leave, I'm sure that's fine. And that's all I got. Miranda?
Okay.